Poor girl asks Millionaire, "Why is my mom's photo in your mansion?" Then something unbelievable. The California sun burned hot above the quiet streets, pouring down its golden fire on the gray sidewalks. The heat shimmered in the air, and through that wavering light walked a small girl carrying a heavy plastic bag full of bright, ripe oranges. Lila Thompson, only 10 years old, moved with the weariness of someone far older. Her faded shirt clung to her back, her worn-out shoes rubbed against her heels, and her tiny hands were red from the sun. Sweat rolled down her forehead, but she didn't stop. Every step was a silent promise that she would sell all her oranges today and bring home enough money to buy her mother's medicine. Her mother, Anna, was sick at home. The coughing fits had grown worse, leaving her too weak to work. The pills from the corner pharmacy cost more than Lila could earn in a week, but she kept going, because Anna had once told her, "You're the strongest girl in the world, my love. No matter how hard it gets, don't ever give up." Lila went door to door through the wealthy neighborhood, white villas with trimmed hedges and gleaming windows. Most people ignored her. A few opened their doors just long enough to shake their heads and say, "No, thank you." Still, Lila didn't lose heart. She tightened her grip on the bag and looked ahead. At the end of the street stood a mansion larger than any she had ever seen. White walls, tall iron gates, and roses blazing red under the afternoon sun. It looked like a castle from a fairy tale, beautiful and strange, yet eerily silent. Her heart beat faster. She walked up to the gate, took a shaky breath, and pressed the small silver button on the wall. A short beep sounded, followed by silence. She was about to turn away when a deep male voice came through the speaker. "Who is it?" Startled, Lila answered quickly, Hello, sir. My name's Lila. I'm selling fresh oranges. Would you like to buy some? They're really sweet." There was a long pause. Lila's fingers tightened around the bag's handle, her heart racing. Then, after what felt like forever, the voice spoke again. Lower this time, thoughtful. "Wait there." Lila froze, the sun glinting on her dusty face. She didn't know it yet, but that single ring of the doorbell, that single moment of courage, was about to change her life forever. The black iron gate clicked open with a soft sound, and Lila instinctively stepped back, clutching the handle of her orange-filled bag. From inside, a man appeared, tall, his white shirt perfectly pressed, the sunlight tracing sharp lines across his face. His hair was dark with a few strands of gray, his expression calm but shadowed by quiet sorrow. There was something in his eyes that made Lila pause, a kind of sadness that felt familiar. "You're the one selling oranges?" His voice was deep, steady, but kind. "Yes, sir," Lila said softly. "They're fresh. I picked them this morning." He looked at her for a moment, studying her face as if searching for a memory buried long ago. Then he nodded. "All right, come in. I'll buy them all." Lila froze. Her mother's warning echoed in her head. Never go inside a stranger's house. But the man didn't seem dangerous. If anything, there was something gentle, almost lonely, in the way he stood there, as though he'd lost something precious long ago. "You can stay right here by the gate if you prefer," he said, noticing the hesitation in her eyes. "But let me get you some water. You look like you could use it." Thank you, sir," she murmured. He turned and disappeared into the house, leaving the gate open. Lila looked around. The garden was breathtaking. Lush green lawns, lavender swaying in the breeze, a small fountain sparkling under the sunlight. Everything was beautiful and heartbreakingly still. Not a sound, not a laugh, not a trace of warmth. When the man returned, he was holding a bottle of cold water and offered her a tired smile. "Here, drink this," he said gently. Then come inside. I'll pay you for the oranges. Lila accepted it, whispered a thank you, and followed him along the stone path toward the white mansion. As they stepped inside, she almost stopped breathing. The ceilings were impossibly high, the marble floors gleamed, and the air smelled faintly of polished wood. It was spotless and lifeless. Her small footsteps echoed in the silence. "You can sit here," the man said, pointing to a chair near the entrance. "I'll get the money. Have you eaten anything today?" Lila shook her head. "No, sir, not yet." He paused, eyes softening. "Wait here. I'll get you a sandwich." His footsteps faded down the hall. Silence filled the room again. Lila looked around. Paintings on the walls, golden frames, objects that shimmered under the afternoon light. She wandered closer to a small wooden table near the staircase, and there, in a golden frame, was a photograph. She stopped breathing. It was her mother, Anna. Younger, radiant, wearing the same blue dress from an old photo Lila had at home. Her mother was laughing, freely and beautifully, in a way Lila had never seen in real life. Her hands trembled as she picked up the frame. "Why is my mom's picture here?" Then came footsteps. The man, Ethan Carter, was back, carrying a tray of food. When his eyes landed on the frame in Lila's hands, he froze. The tray shook. A sandwich slid off and hit the floor. His face drained of color. The room felt frozen in time. "That," he whispered, his voice breaking. "What? What did you say your mother's name was?" "Anna Thompson," Lila said, her voice trembling. "That's my mom. Why do you have her picture in your house?" Ethan took a step back, his hand gripping the edge of the table. His breath came out shaky. His face went pale, his expression changing from confusion to disbelief, and then to something deeper, sorrow. He slowly sank onto the chair, his eyes fixed on the photo. "Anna," he whispered, the name breaking on his lips. "She's alive." Lila frowned. You know my mom?" "I do," he murmured. "Better than you might think." The silence stretched, heavy and fragile. "How old are you, Lila?" 10. I'll be 11 in April." He closed his eyes, and a tear escaped down his cheek. 10 years, the exact amount of time since Anna vanished. "Where's your father?" he asked suddenly, though he already feared the answer. Lila lowered her head. "I don't have one. Mom says it's just the two of us." The word struck him like a blade. He covered his mouth, but a strangled sound escaped anyway. His eyes reddened, and he turned away, shoulders trembling slightly. After a long pause, he spoke again, quietly. "Did your mother ever mention someone named Ethan?" Lila hesitated. "Not really, but sometimes at night, when she thinks I'm asleep, I hear her whisper a name. I think it's Ethan." Ethan froze. His chest rose sharply, his gaze unfocused. "She still remembers me," he whispered, half to himself. Lila stepped closer, worried. "You really knew my mom?" He nodded, voice trembling. "I didn't just know her. I loved her, more than I've ever loved anyone." Lila's heart skipped. "What happened to her? Why did she leave?" Ethan stared at nothing for a moment before answering. "One morning she was just gone. No note, no message. I searched everywhere, for months, years even. And then I told myself she must have stopped loving me." His words cracked under the weight of memory. "But now I see you, and I understand. She didn't leave because she stopped loving me. She left because of you." "Because of me?" Lila whispered, confused. He nodded slowly, a sad smile flickering through his tears. "Because she was carrying you." The realization hit her like a wave. The room seemed to blur around her. "You mean—" Ethan looked straight into her eyes. "I think I might be your father, Lila." Silence engulfed the room. The wind outside brushed gently against the window. The marble floors gleamed faintly under the fading light. Lila stood there, clutching the frame, feeling her world shift beneath her feet. Ethan took a cautious step forward. His voice softened. "If that's true, I missed the first 10 years of my daughter's life." Lila's eyes filled with tears. A lump formed in her throat. He swallowed hard, forcing the words out. "Lila, please, let me see your mother. I need to see her." Lila shook her head quickly. "I can't. She's really sick and she doesn't like strangers." "I'm not a stranger," Ethan said gently. "I just need to know she's all right. Just once." Lila's lips trembled. She didn't know what to do. He looked so fragile, so desperate, not like the rich man she'd first met, but like someone who had been searching for home his whole life. Ethan reached into his wallet and pulled out a few bills. He counted them with trembling fingers, then folded them and placed them in her hand. "Here," he said softly. "It's $100. Buy her medicine. And tell your mother that Ethan Carter wants to see her. Tell her I'm not angry. Tell her I'm just glad she's still alive." He stepped to a small desk, scribbled something on a card, and pressed it into her hand. "This is my number. If she won't call, you can." Lila looked down at the money, then up at him. She couldn't speak. "Promise me, Lila," he whispered. She nodded slowly. Ethan's hand brushed gently over her shoulder, his voice barely audible. "Thank you." Lila turned toward the door. The bag that once held her oranges swung lightly at her side, now empty. As she stepped through the gate, the hinges creaked softly. Ethan stood there, unmoving, watching her small figure disappear down the sunlit street. And when she was gone, for the first time in 10 years, Ethan Carter let himself cry. The tears of a father who had just found the piece of his heart he never knew he'd lost. Lila ran through the narrow streets as the sky turned orange with dusk, clutching the empty orange bag against her chest. The evening heat lingered, mixed with the smell of fried food, car exhaust, and the cries of children echoing from open windows. She turned into a crumbling apartment block, climbed the worn-out stairs, and stopped in front of the door she knew too well. Inside, Anna Thompson lay curled on a thin mattress, wrapped in a faded blanket. Her body shook with each cough, her breath shallow and raspy. "Mama!" Lila burst in, panting. "I sold all the oranges today. A man bought every single one, and he gave me money too." Anna turned her head slowly, managing a weak smile. "Really, sweetheart? That's wonderful." Lila set the $100 bill on the small table beside the bed. "Here, Mom," and something strange happened. His house was huge, and on his table there was a photo of you. You, Mom, in that blue dress you wore years ago. Anna froze. The color drained from her face. "What did you say?" "It was you, smiling in a garden." He said his name was Ethan Carter. The name hit like a thunderclap. Anna sat up so quickly she began to cough again. Her hands trembled as she gripped the blanket. "We have to leave," she gasped. "Tonight, right now." "Leave?" Lila blinked, terrified. "But why? Mom, what's going on?" Anna stumbled toward the corner, trying to shove clothes into an old bag. "We can't let them find us. Not again." "Mama, stop!" Lila cried, grabbing her from behind. "You're scaring me. He's not bad. Mr. Ethan is kind. He gave me water. He gave me money for your medicine." Anna froze mid-motion. Her shoulders slumped. Slowly, she turned around, her face streaked with tears. "You don't understand, Lila. You don't know who that man is." "But he said his name is Ethan Carter." Anna's breath caught. She sank into the chair, burying her face in her hands. "Oh, God! Ethan!" Lila knelt beside her. "Mom, please, tell me the truth." Anna lifted her gaze. Her eyes were red, hollow, but filled with something deeper than pain. Memory. Ethan was the man I loved, the man I thought I would spend my life with. Lila stared, heart pounding. Then why did you leave him? Anna looked toward the cracked window, her voice barely a whisper. Because of his mother, Victoria Carter. She was powerful, ruthless. When she found out about me, she said I'd ruin her son's future. And when she learned I was pregnant, her voice broke. She came to me with threats. She said if I didn't disappear, she'd have me arrested, destroy my reputation, and take everything from Ethan. Tears rolled down Anna's face. I was terrified. I didn't want to ruin his life, and I didn't want you to be born into a war. Lila's voice cracked. You were pregnant with me? Anna nodded slowly. Yes, I left that night. I didn't even say goodbye. I hid, I worked, I tried to build a life for us, but I never stopped looking over my shoulder. Every day I was afraid someone would find us. Silence fell. Lila's small hands clung to her mother's trembling ones. I don't hate you, Mom, she whispered. I just feel sorry for you. And Mr. Ethan, he's not angry. He said he's just glad you're still alive. Anna's eyes widened. He said that? Lila nodded. He told me to tell you that. He said he's not angry, just happy you're alive. Anna turned her face toward the flickering streetlight outside. Her lips trembled, a tear sliding down her cheek. He said that, she murmured. Then she pulled Lila into her arms, holding her tight as if she might disappear too. The room was still, save for the soft sound of their sobs. Outside, the wind whispered through the broken window, carrying the scent of the city night. And somewhere between the fear and the tears, a faint spark of hope, fragile but real, began to flicker back to life after 10 long years of darkness. Night had fallen. The dim streetlight slipped through the cracked window, spilling pale gold across Anna's tired face. She sat in silence, her thin hands clasped tightly together, while Lila sat beside her, eyes full of pleading hope. The air in the tiny room felt heavy, like a storm waiting to break. Mom, Lila whispered, I think Mr. Ethan just wants to see you. He's kind, I can tell. Please, Mom, he's not like the others. Anna didn't answer. 10 years of hiding, 10 years of fear. Now it all came down to a single phone call. She exhaled shakily. I don't know if I'm strong enough, Lila. Lila squeezed her hand. If not now, then when, Mom? Anna looked into her daughter's eyes, those same eyes that mirrored the man she once loved. Something flickered in her heart, fragile but real. After a long silence, she nodded. All right, call him. Lila's fingers trembled as she dialed the number Ethan had written. The phone rang once, twice, and then his voice came through, breathless. Lila? Yes, it's me. I'm with my mom. There was a pause on the line, followed by a sound that was half gasp, half sob. Is she all right? She's sick, but she said she'd see you. For a moment, there was only silence, then a soft, broken whisper. Thank you, Lila. Thank you. 20 minutes later, a knock echoed through the room. Lila opened the door, and Ethan stood there, breathless, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes wild with emotion. He looked like a man who had been running not just through the city, but through 10 years of regret. His gaze fell on Anna. She was sitting up on the bed, pale, frail, but still beautiful in the way time could never erase. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. It was as if every word they had buried for a decade rose and hovered between them. Anna, Ethan said at last, his voice breaking on her name. Ethan, she whispered back. They just looked at each other, two people separated by time, distance, and pain, yet bound by something that had never really died. Slowly, Ethan moved closer, knelt beside her bed, and took her hand. Her skin was thin, cold, but the warmth beneath it was still the same. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't know. I didn't know you were still here, or that I had a daughter." Anna shook her head weakly, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want you to lose everything because of me. I didn't want your mother to destroy you." Ethan's voice broke as he gripped her hand tighter. "I don't care about any of that. I don't care about money or business or my mother's pride. I just care about you and our child." Lila stood by the door, her eyes glistening. She had never seen her mother cry like this, nor seen anyone look at her mother the way Ethan did. The room felt smaller, filled only with their breathing and quiet sobs. The years of silence dissolved in that fragile moment. Ethan finally stood and looked around the apartment, the cracked walls, the broken chair, the cardboard-patched window. His jaw tightened. "I can't let you live like this anymore." "Ethan, please don't." "No." His voice was firm but trembling. "You need a doctor. I'm taking you to the hospital tonight. I don't care what it costs or what my mother says. I just want you safe." Anna shook her head, whispering through tears. "I don't deserve this." "Don't say that," he said softly, cupping her face. "You deserve to live, Anna. You deserve to be happy." Lila took her mother's hand. "Please, Mom, let's go." Anna looked from one to the other, then finally nodded, tears blurring her vision. Ethan exhaled, relief flooding through him. "Pack your things, sweetheart," he said to Lila. "We're going home." The next few minutes passed in quiet motion, a few worn clothes, a small bag, a photo or two. Lila folded her mother's old blue dress carefully, the one from the photograph that had changed everything. Ethan stood by, watching them, his heart full and aching. When they stepped outside, his car waited at the curb. The headlights cut through the darkness as he helped Anna into the back seat. Lila climbed in beside her, clutching her hand. As the door closed, the engine hummed softly to life. Through the window, Lila watched their small apartment shrink into the distance, swallowed by the night. The city lights stretched ahead, long and bright, a road that shimmered with hope. And as the car carried them away, for the first time in 10 years, the three of them were together. And this time, they were heading toward the beginning of something new. The private hospital gleamed under soft white lights. Anna lay in a clean bed, pale but no longer fading, her eyes brighter, her breathing calmer. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Ethan stayed by her side, almost never leaving. He adjusted her blanket, spoke quietly with the doctors, and sometimes just sat there, watching her sleep, afraid that if he blinked, she might vanish again. Lila sat by the window, doodling in a small notebook the nurses had given her. The afternoon sun poured through the glass, bathing the room in golden light. "What are you drawing?" Ethan asked gently. Lila looked up and smiled. "You and Mom." He froze for a second, then smiled, eyes glistening. "Add yourself too. I want you in that picture." She nodded. "Of course." A while later, she asked softly, "Mr. Ethan, have you ever felt lonely, like you had no one to play with?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Yes, many times, but not anymore." "So..." Lila hesitated, then spoke in a trembling voice. "Kids at school used to tease me. They said I didn't have a dad. I used to pretend it didn't hurt, but it did. I just wanted, just once, for someone to wait for me after school and say, 'I'm here, sweetheart. Let's go home.'" Ethan's heart cracked open. He reached out, brushing her hair gently. His voice shook. "You'll never have to wish for that again. I'll be there always. You'll never be alone again." Lila looked up, eyes shimmering, and then threw her arms around him, the first hug between a father and daughter who had found each other through a decade of loss. A few days later, following the doctor's suggestion, Ethan agreed to a DNA test for legal proof. Anna hesitated, but he squeezed her hand and smiled. I don't need science to know the truth. I just want everyone else to see what I already know. The samples were taken quickly. Lila giggled when the nurse swabbed her cheek, and Ethan teased, "See? Just like a kitten being tickled." 3 days passed. The hospital room began to feel like a home. Lila told stories from school, Ethan shared memories of travels, and Anna listened quietly, feeling her heart mend with every laugh. The air felt lighter, as if the past was finally losing its grip. On the 4th morning, the doctor entered holding a sealed envelope. "The results are ready," she said, smiling. "Congratulations." Ethan opened it slowly. His eyes scanned the page until they landed on the line that changed everything. Match 99.9%. Paternity confirmed. He froze. Then suddenly, tears filled his eyes. He turned toward Lila and pulled her into his arms, holding her as if he'd never let go again. "You're my daughter," he whispered through tears. "My little girl. Always." Lila hugged him tighter, smiling through her own tears. "I already knew, Dad." Anna watched them, her hands pressed to her heart. A smile bloomed through her tears, tender, trembling, full of peace. The fear was gone, replaced by something softer. Belonging. Morning sunlight streamed through the window, wrapping around them like a promise. For the first time in 10 years, they were whole again. A family, healed, proven, and home. The next morning, sunlight spilled softly into the hospital room, brushing across Anna's peaceful face. Ethan stood beside her bed, watching her and Lila, his heart swelling with love and quiet guilt. Lila was adding the final touches to her drawing, 3 people, hand in hand, beneath a blue sky. Ethan placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Take care of your mom, sweetheart. There's something I need to do." "Where are you going, Mr. Ethan?" she asked, tilting her head. He smiled faintly, though his eyes were heavy. "To talk to someone who should have heard the truth a long time ago." The black sedan glided up the curved driveway of the Carter estate. The mansion stood tall on the Beverly Hills hilltop, immaculate and distant, the place where he'd grown up and the place where everything had gone wrong. Inside, Victoria Carter sat in the grand living room, poised with her cup of mint tea. When Ethan walked in, her expression flickered, surprise, then calm politeness. "Ethan, darling," she said, "what a pleasant surprise. You haven't visited in weeks." Ethan didn't smile. "We need to talk." Her brow arched slightly. "You sound so serious. What about?" He held her gaze. "You already know, about Anna Thompson." Her hand froze midair, but she quickly recovered. "That woman? Why dredge up the past? I did what had to be done. You should thank me for saving your life from that mistake." Ethan's voice trembled, but his words were sharp. "Saving me? You didn't save me, Mother. You destroyed me. You tore Anna away from me. And my child." Victoria's lips pressed together. "Ethan, don't be naive. She would have ruined your future. I was protecting you from a scandal." "Protecting me from love?" Ethan said bitterly. "You call that protection? 10 years, Mother. 10 years I lived like a shell of a man, never knowing my daughter existed, while the woman I loved suffered alone because you threatened her." Victoria stood, her face pale but voice still clipped. "That child? She's really yours?" "That child." She paused, pride tightening in her throat. "You're certain the test leaves no doubt?" Ethan's answer came firm. "Yes, the DNA test confirmed it, 99.9%. She's my daughter." "Lila." The color drained from her face. She had known Anna was pregnant when she drove her away. She just hadn't expected the truth to come back and stand in her living room, alive and undeniable. Ethan stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You didn't protect me, Mother. You protected your name, your precious Carter reputation, but you never protected your son." Victoria's lips trembled. "Everything I did was for you," she whispered. "No," he said softly, shaking his head. "You did it for yourself, for your pride, for appearances. You never cared what it cost me." He took a deep breath. "If you ever hurt Anna or Lila again, if you ever try to interfere in our lives, I will cut every tie between us. Do you understand?" Victoria stared at him, her proud, perfect son now standing before her, eyes filled with tears but stronger than she had ever seen him. "You don't mean that," she said weakly. "I do," he replied, "because this time I choose them. Not the name, not the legacy. Them." He turned and walked toward the door. The faint sound of his footsteps echoed down the hall, then faded. Victoria stood still, staring after him. The tea had gone cold. The silence pressed in around her, and for the first time she felt what she had never allowed herself to feel: loss. A tear slid down her cheek, quiet, unexpected, and real. And in that moment, the woman who once controlled everything finally realized she had nothing left to hold on to. That evening, after the storm had passed, Ethan returned to the hospital. Anna was reading by the window, and Lila lay asleep with her head on her mother's lap. The sunset cast a golden glow across their faces, and for a moment, Ethan simply stood there, watching, breathing, feeling everything he'd almost lost. A few days later, when the doctor declared Anna strong enough to leave, Ethan drove them home, not to their old apartment, but to the mansion in Beverly Hills. Anna looked out the window, uneasy. "Ethan, I don't think I belong there." He reached for her hand. "You do. This isn't a house of loneliness anymore. It's our home now." The gates opened, warm lights poured from the windows, soft and inviting. The mansion that once echoed with silence now hummed with new life. Lila wandered through the halls in awe, the lavender garden, the wide kitchen, the tall windows overlooking a pond. Ethan led her to a bright, empty room. "This one's yours," he said. "Pick a color and we'll paint it together." "Yellow," Lila said instantly. "Like sunlight." He smiled. "Then we'll make you a room full of sunshine." Within a week, the walls gleamed a soft yellow. White curtains swayed in the breeze, and above the bed hung her drawing, 3 people under a blue sky. The mansion changed. Every morning, laughter replaced silence. Anna grew stronger, waking early to make coffee, arrange flowers, and fill the house with warmth. Ethan loved watching her move around the kitchen, every small gesture reminding him that miracles could be quiet. One evening, under the soft glow of the chandeliers, he asked Lila to go to bed early. Anna was arranging flowers when she turned and saw him standing by the window, holding a small velvet box. "Ethan," she whispered, surprised. He stepped closer, voice trembling. "I've kept this for 10 years, he said, opening the box. Inside was a silver ring, slightly worn but still shining. Tears welled up in her eyes before he even knelt. "Anna," he said, his voice breaking, "I lost you once. I can't lose you again. Will you start over with me?" She nodded, crying softly. "I've been waiting 10 years to hear you ask." He smiled through his tears, slipped the ring onto her finger, and pulled her into his arms. Outside, the night wind carried the scent of lavender, gentle, forgiving, eternal. A month later, the garden behind the mansion bloomed with white flowers. The wedding was small and intimate, a handful of close friends, Lila scattering petals along the aisle, and at the back row, Victoria Carter sat quietly. Her eyes glistened as she watched her son and the woman he'd loved for so long finally unite. When Ethan placed the ring on Anna's hand, Victoria bowed her head slightly. For the first time in years, She looked peaceful. The evening ended in laughter, in light, in the sound of a child running through the garden. Lila twirled in her white dress, while Ethan and Anna held hands beneath the golden sunset. The house that had once been silent now echoed with warmth, with love, with life, and for the first time, it truly felt like home. The evening sun dipped low over the garden, its light soft and golden. Lila's laughter echoed among the flowers while Anna poured tea, and Ethan watched them, his heart full. Life had finally settled into peace, warm, steady, whole. One quiet morning, as sunlight filtered through the curtains, the butler appeared at the door. "Sir," he said softly, "Mrs. Victoria Carter is here to see you." Ethan froze. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then he exhaled, steady but calm. "Let her in." The door opened. Victoria Carter stepped in, slower, older, and smaller than he remembered. She carried a bouquet of wild daisies, simple and fragile. "Hello, Ethan," she said quietly. "And hello, Anna?" Anna rose, offering a polite nod. The air between them was still and delicate, like something that might shatter if touched too hard. Victoria placed the flowers on the table. "I've done a lot of thinking," she began, her voice rough but sincere. "For years, I lived inside my pride. I thought I was protecting you, Ethan, but I was just protecting myself. From fear, from loss, from being wrong. I hurt all of you. I can't undo it. But I can say I'm sorry." She turned to Anna. "I'm sorry for the pain I caused, for the years I stole. I was blinded by arrogance and fear." Anna looked at her, really looked. The woman before her wasn't the same powerful figure she once feared, but a mother broken by her own mistakes. "Mrs. Carter," Anna said softly, "I used to think I'd never forgive you. But if not for what happened, I wouldn't have Lila. I wouldn't know how strong love can be. I forgive you." Victoria lowered her head, tears falling freely. At that moment, a small voice came from the stairs. "Grandma?" Lila hurried over, picked up the flowers, and handed them back to her. "It's okay, Grandma," she said, smiling brightly. "We can start over." Victoria pulled the girl into her arms, trembling. The warmth of that hug, pure, innocent, and full of love, melted something frozen inside her heart. Later that afternoon, the three generations sat together in the garden. Ethan poured tea, Anna served cake, and Lila chatted happily about school. There was no anger, no blame, only peace, understanding, and the gentle hum of forgiveness.